Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Beyond Focus TV. I'm your host, Victoria Steve, and we have a fantastic show for you tonight. RoseMarie Andrews is our guest, poet, model, writer, and executive producer of Project Shrinking Violet will be our guest. But first, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
TV allows you to discuss contemporary topics affecting the Caribbean people on both a national and local level. The show features informed guests who offer insight, debate, and evaluate various issues. Beyond Focus TV builds on the station's mission to provide useful information to the Caribbean people in New York and abroad. Beyond Focus TV, where our viewing audience can get educated, informed, and empowered.
Welcome back to Beyond Focus TV. I'm your host, Victoria Steve. Here we have our guest, RoseMarie Andrews, executive producer of Project Shrinking Violet. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you for being here.
So I have embarked on this journey of kind of wellness and empowerment. And I really wanted to share it with the world and encourage other people to do it. So that's how Project Shrinking Violet came about. I was very shy due to obesity and childhood trauma, and that's what Shrinking Violet came from. But now I'm physically shrinking. So there's a little irony in the title because I'm clearly not shy anymore.
Wait, walk me through the title. Why Shrinking Violet?
So Shrinking Violet is essentially like a wallflower, like someone who's shy. And so that's what I was. But I'm not a shrinking violet anymore. I'm very outgoing. I'm very personable. Between poetry and writing and being on the radio, that is not an issue for me anymore. But I'm physically shrinking. So I just like the irony. And my motto is, "You are the best project you will ever work on." So that's why the project is in the beginning of it. So it's Project Shrinking Violet, so that everyone is hopefully encouraged to work on their own project.
That's beautiful. So do you feel like you become more outgoing when you started losing weight?
No, I started before. I genuinely started before I started to lose weight. I was in a poetry show called The Curvention, which is like a plus size event.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
And so that's what initially got me out of my comfort zone. I was doing a poem in the show. I was just a performer. That was it. A model dropped out and they asked me to model. And I said, absolutely not. And they were like, why not? I'm like, I'm not a model. I don't want anyone to think that I think they should be looking at me. It's a joke, and no.
Even in a group of plus size women, you didn't feel comfortable enough.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And they stayed on me, and they got me to do it. And it was so funny because in the beginning, LaQuisha Rucker, who was the coordinator, used to I would run so fast. Like I would she was like, you have to slow down. You have to slow down. She's like, you can see how uncomfortable you are. She's like, you don't want that to. And I don't think that I was 30 at the time. I don't think that I had realized how uncomfortable in my own skin I was. And it was just through that process of getting comfortable, being okay, feeling good about myself. I was always very like covered up and shy and I was teased a lot when I was younger about my shape. I grew up in a rural area where I was the only person of color in my entire school from kindergarten to 12th grade.
Oh, wow.
So I was there from kindergarten to 8th grade, and then I went to high school in a little bit more urban environment. But by then the damage was done. I was...
your formative years, to feel marginalized like that?
I experienced a lot of racism, and a lot of it because of my body type, my clearly ethnic features, and so because of that, I was always making sure I was covered up, my backside, and I just got this very negative self-image of myself, and Curvention really helped me with that, and that's why I encourage people to start to love themselves where you are. That is key in any kind of success. Like you're not going to get there overnight, but you should love yourself through the process.
Yeah. So I definitely now in this day and age, I feel like the body positivity movement is super. Everyone has Nike has plus size mannequins. Have
I
you seen
saw
that?
that.
Fenty has plus size mannequins. I'm like, oh, okay, all
Yeah,
right.
there is this beginning of acceptance, and that's the thing. Like and Nike should have workout attire for a plus size person,
Yeah.
because how are you going to get to those smaller sizes without,
Exactly.
there were times when I was looking for workout clothes and I was very discouraged, and going to a gym and you already feel uncomfortable. But if you don't even have the appropriate attire, it's like showing up for a job as a doctor and
Exactly.
you don't have scrubs.
Exactly.
It's
going
like
to discourage you already.
and so much of it is mindset. So I think that's why I focus on the positivity as much as possible about having a good mindset.
Yeah. So like the psychology behind weight loss is key. I know I took a look at your trailer, the Project Shrinking Violet. I think you mentioned something about like group therapy.
Yes.
And yeah.
So I had a gastric sleeve. So essentially what a gastric sleeve does is it shrinks your stomach to about the size of an egg. That's the difference between the gastric bypass, which reroutes your intestine from, essentially it goes in to, you just skip the stomach. And it goes right,
okay.
yeah, it goes in and out.
That's not like more invasive surgery, right?
I mean, they are equally as dangerous. I researched this a lot, clearly, when I was going into this. They're equally as dangerous, but the other one is more long term. Like my stomach, will stretch out over time. It can even go back to its original size if I let it. But for some people who maybe are compulsive binge eaters, or who have other, or have extreme health concerns, the bypass is a quicker route for extreme weight loss. But they require in any of these programs that you go to group therapy. You have to go to at least 2 of these group therapies.
Okay.
And you actually have to get a psychological exam also on top of that.
That's crazy.
You get a full psychological exam. I had to go to a therapist to get approved for the surgery. But it really, it makes sense, because you are going to have a drastic change in your life. You're going to be you're going to start to have a super restrictive diet. And for a lot of people who have had the surgery or going to have the surgery,
now I see.
you are used to eating a large amount, and that is severely restricted. And some people have to be mentally able to handle that kind of change. Binge eating wasn't my personal issue, so I really wasn't worried about that, and I've always been active. So this was more of, I really did this as a way because I was struggling losing weight, and even though I was running 5Ks at 300 pounds, I was working out 5 days a week, and I would never really lose weight. And I still, to this day, even I had the surgery July of last year, so July of 18. Wow. Okay, so I'm almost. By the way. Thank you. So I'm almost a year out. But it was definitely a process, and I did not have a big drastic drop in weight loss. Like a lot of people will lose 10, 15, 20 pounds. That was not the case for me. I lost 17 pounds initially after surgery, and I had some complications. I actually went up on like a nutrient tube in my arm I was in there a week in a hospital. But I've only lost 5 pounds a month.
I don't want to wait. So if they're making your stomach this small, how are you not?
Well, that's the thing. They're going to send me for some testing to an endocrinologist to test my hormone levels, because there may be a complication with why I'm not losing weight. But I was saying that prior to the surgery, and I feel like generally when you're overweight, you're marginalized when you go to the doctor.
Hold that thought. We'll be right back. We have to take a quick break. We'll be right back. You're watching Beyond Focus TV. Welcome back to Beyond Focus TV. I'm your host, Victoria Steve. If you're just now tuning in, we're talking with executive producer of Project Shrinking Violet, RoseMarie Andrew. We were just talking about the complications of weight loss surgery, and you were telling us a little bit about your journey.
Well, I started off, I really got the surgery because I was struggling losing weight on my own. And, obesity was something that was always in my family. It was very normalized. But however, we didn't live long in our family. So, I wanted to be healthy. I started working out, but I just didn't seem to be losing the weight. I would lose a little bit, but then it would get stagnant. So I did this for about 2 years on and off after my mom passed away. And finally I decided to get the surgery because I couldn't, I felt like I wasn't being listened to when I was going to the doctor. And I feel like that's a common thing among overweight people. You go to the doctor and, you have a cold and it's, well, you should lose 20 pounds. And I kept saying, my knees hurt. And they're like, well, you got to lose weight. And I'm like, okay. My knees hurt more now than they did when I was almost 400 pounds.
Oh, no.
Well, apparently I have knocked knees and flat feet. But they didn't really notice when I was overweight. Now it's very noticeable because I've lost weight and you can see that my knees go in. And so I had to order braces. And so those are some things that I could have used those before when I was heavier. But the initial response was, you're overweight. So it wasn't even looked at. And I would say, I'm working out and I'm doing this. And I'm like, well, you're probably taking in extra calories. So as a last resort, I decided to get the surgery. And still, now that's why I'm going to an endocrinologist and they're testing my hormone levels. And it took a while for them to realize that what I was saying was very valid. And I feel like this is a very common thing among a lot of people who overweight people who go to the doctor for whatever their ailment is. A lot of it's just the easy answer is their weight, which was not the case for me. And I'm still in the process of really finding out what the issue is. But I still have had success with the surgery, and I'm still glad I did it. And part of the reason I did get it was to get my physicians to listen to me.
Exactly. So, why bypass? Because if I'm thinking of weight loss surgery, I would think tummy tuck, lipo. I want to just take it out right now.
Well, it is. Those are more instant things. I didn't want to just remove the fat. I wanted to remove the conditioning, which is a little bit different. And a lot of it, especially through therapy, I realized that a lot of my behaviors were kind of coping mechanisms that I had learned. Now, my mom was a binge eater. That's something I never really took to, but, food was just constantly pushed on us. As a I want to say positive reinforcement type of thing, and a lot of families use food for comfort and love and affection, does that, instant gratification. Socioeconomics come into play. If you're in a lower income, you may not be able to take your kids to Disneyland, but you can take them to McDonald's Playland. You may not be able to get them the newest toy, but you can take them for ice cream. So there's this I think that's a part of the reason that in low income areas you will see higher rates of obesity. And
also in low income areas, they always say something about food deserts.
Yes, so I was actually going to bring that up. I in my documentary take my video camera in the corner store by my house. What are you eating? And it's these are the foods that are available to me where I live. And my corner store didn't start carrying water until 3 or 4 years ago. Bottled water. Just bottled water. They had juices, sodas, and everything else, and people were complaining, and they finally but that's what it took to get bottled water. So there's no produce, there's no fresh food. There's not a lot of grocery stores. It's more like the corner store situation. So that all comes into play. I'm passionate about all obesity, but in particular with people of color, because we have the highest rate of obesity, especially women of color. So according to the CDC, 4 out of 5 black women are obese. Not overweight, obese.
That's crazy.
And we are the highest demographic for diabetes. So there's all these things that are associated, and we know. And okay, let's look at our environment. Let's look at our work. I don't know about you, but a lot of working women, especially women of color, are completely just pulled in 7 different directions, and always put themselves last. Your self-care is considered something for the privileged. But really, it's something for everybody. You need to care about yourself and find time and to do something positive. I may not get a lot of time to go lay down, but I know that I got to go work out today. And that was something that I did for myself that was good for me in the long run. So, and I think there's a lot of just women in general feel like that's selfish. But really, you have to, when you're in an airplane, they tell you to put the air mask on.
I was supposed to say that. You got to take care of yourself before you take care of other people,
This process has made me a better worker, a better mother. Like, I'm a happier individual because I'm taking care of my needs. And, sometimes that's really hard to do. I had a lot of pressure to grow up fast. I feel like a lot of people do. I was the oldest. I had siblings to take care of. I had, mom with health issues. And that's, a lot of our children are growing up faster than, you would like. Unfortunately. And because of that, you don't get to know yourself or to know your triggers, to know what sets you off, or even how to appropriately handle that. There's this cycle of dysfunction a lot of the time when it comes to obesity and a lot of other issues. So self-care and self-reflection is something that you may not have time for or may not be able to get to. So
say if, for all the women out there that maybe, identify with that, what would you say their first step could be? Because, like, weight loss, if you don't have, like, the money for surgery and stuff like that, it could be super overwhelming. Where do I start? Where would you say?
It is overwhelming, and that's part of the reason I'm doing the documentary, is I was out there looking for information, and I wasn't quite finding what I would find all these before and after videos, but I was like, well, that's nice, but that doesn't tell me how they got to where they were and how this affected their change. And my insurance actually covered my weight loss surgery because I was morbidly obese and at risk. Even though I didn't have diabetes, high blood pressure, hypertension, I was lucky. I had none of those things. I was fat and was in my knee pain. That was it.
It was like my knees.
I was like, whatever. I want to be able to. And that's the thing. I wanted to be able to run, and I was like, I can't. So yeah, that's where I started was going to my doctor's office and saying, listen, I've been trying. I'm ready to talk about alternatives. And my doctor was great and sent me to the bariatrics, and they talked me through all the possible choices.
All right, so we're going to take another quick break. We'll be right back. This is Beyond Focus TV. I'm your host, Victoria Steve. Welcome back to Beyond Focus TV. I'm your host, Victoria Steve, and we are sitting here with RoseMarie Andrews, executive producer of Project Shrinking Violet. You were mentioning something about CHUBSTER?
Okay, so I have something called the CHUBSTER List, what essentially is my fat bucket list. Because I was 400 pounds by the time I was 18, and I was also very insecure. It limited what I was able to experience. It just limited my experiences in general. So every 10 pounds I lose, I challenge myself to do something I've always wanted to do and never tried. I've done things like a spinning class. The last one, two ones prior. Let's see, the
spinning. That's the bike, right?
Spinning. Yeah, spinning class. Yeah, spinning class. I did that. My 250-pound weigh-in was viewers' choice, where they got to actually write in what they wanted to see me do, and whatever got the most write-ins, I did. So they voted for me to pole dance, and I went to a pole dancing class. That was different. The last one they voted was between zip lining and parasailing, and they voted for zip lining, so I'm going zip lining. So I try to encourage people to really move past their fear, because a lot of obesity, and I feel like just anytime you're up against a challenge, fear is an issue. So it's about challenging yourself for what you think you're capable of. So, I went to a pole dancing class, and now I have 2 girls who go because they saw me and were inspired to try it and wanted to do it, and they love it. They're there every week.
That's a lot of upper body strength, right?
I'm halfway up the pole. I can actually climb halfway up the pole now. Yeah, so I love the CHUBSTER List. I love the idea behind it, and anyone who you can check me out on social media to find out more about that and maybe write in some things. And I also offer that to other people.
Oh yeah, like encouragement and stuff like that.
So if you hit a weight loss goal and maybe you want to try something but you don't want to do it with your friends because it's embarrassing, if you inbox me and you're local, I will come and do it. If you're like, hey, I want to go ride a mechanical bull, I'm like, okay, let's do it. So that's great. I love it. I have women who reach out to me like, oh, you're going zip lining? I want to go. I'm actually going with 2 or 3 women who saw that that's what won the vote. And they're going to come with me because they saw that I'm doing. So I'm encouraging people to really come outside your comfort zone.
So you're like you're building your own online community. I love that.
It's a support system.
Yeah.
As a single working mother, like I had to kind of become my own support system. But it's been great to really encourage other women to go on this journey with me.
Definitely, it makes it easier. So like, what's your radius? Because I know you're like in New York. So
well. Because I'm on social media, I have people who reach out to me from all over the country. So I actually, I have people from Chicago who will email me, and California. As far as California, I'm very accessible. I try to make myself as accessible as possible because I know when someone's ready to start this journey, you have to be ready to meet them. So I try to make myself just open to everybody.
That's great. So before I let you go, how can viewers get in contact with you?
So I am all over social media. There's Project Shrinking Violet on Facebook. There's Project Shrinking Violet on Instagram. There's Project Shrinking Violet on YouTube, which has my marketing trailer, which is up there. It's got 15,000 views in 2 months.
Wow.
So I was very surprised by
That's
that.
crazy.
And you can email me at projectshrinkingviolet1@gmail.com. Some people feel more comfortable emailing me because they have very personal stories and maybe don't want to reach out through social media. So I check my email daily.
So how did you put together the trailer yourself?
I had an editor, Daniels. I record a lot on my own. But I can only do so much. I can only work out, not eat a cheesecake, and and record myself. But when it came to editing, I was like, no, I will be waist deep in nachos trying to cry. So I definitely handle that to the professional. And I have a videographer, Tony Boosie, who's great, who records me when I go on my adventures and I'm trying not to throw up. He just records me because I have to focus.
Nice.
He'll be coming to zip lining because I will not be focused on anything but not dying.
Are you going to make him zip line too?
No. He gets to just the video. Like I said, I know when to delegate because that's just, I can't focus on camera angles and I'm going to be nervous. I'm not a fan of gravity or heights. So
I'm nervous for you. I'm like zip line. Oh no!
I mean, my whole life, being overweight, everything about this says I shouldn't be in air. But so I'm really excited about trying this. So yeah, I'm not going to be worried about angles or video, editing or any of that stuff. I leave that to the professionals. But a lot of it is me doing video diaries and recording myself. But it's definitely a process.
So. When is the documentary coming out?
So I will wrap production September of this year. I started filming it in November of 2017. I'm going to wrap this year with my 20-year high school reunion. So that's
excited about that?
I'm excited about that because I was I was 400 pounds when I left high school. So and a lot of people don't remember me. People who I know now who I went to high school with and had classes with are amazed at how good I was making myself invisible, even at 400 pounds. And that's a lot of it was my weight. I kept people away from me. I used it to keep people away from me. It was essentially like a flesh blankie. And I've kind of taken that away now. And so I have people who are like, "Oh, I didn't know that was you," or we barely remember you.
Girl. Yeah, all the people who wanted to make fun of you just bow. You know
what? Honestly, I didn't even have a lot of people who made fun of me in high school. I made myself invisible. By the time I got to high school, nobody remembers me. Nobody. Girls who I was in the convention with, went to school with, didn't remember me.
You have such a bubbly personality. That's crazy.
You
how
would
you were
never
like,
know. Yeah.
You know.
But a lot of that was suppressing. I was suppressing it. I was, you get to a point where you're conditioned and you just learn to keep, I was, putting instant gratification. Eating, not taking care of myself, neglecting myself. I think I was suppressing my outgoing. I didn't want to be too much. Now, if I'm too much for you, you're just too little for me.
I like that. Can we make that a tagline?
Hey, I might have to trademark that.
Right?
I love what I do now, and I think that that's why, because I'm happy with what I'm doing, and I know that I'm helping myself and helping other people. So there's no reason for me to be trying to instantly gratify myself with food or alcohol or anything. I quit smoking cigarettes. I just take care of myself. I've just made me a priority.
When you quit smoking cigarettes, did you find that was hindered your weight loss? Because I hear that all the time. Like, when you quit smoking, that's when you gain weight.
So I quit smoking before I started the process for the surgery, because I knew I had to do that.
Okay.
And so that was a little tricky. But I did essentially what I did with the surgery, I did with the smoking. I used a vape pen until I didn't have the cravings anymore, and then I just it was replacing that motion. And then so I just did, and I felt stupid with the vape pen, I'm not going to lie. But I was just like, this is what it's going to be until I don't. I used the vape pen for 30 days and then never smoked a cigarette. It's been over a year. I haven't had a cigarette.
I love your self-improvement. I love it. You're just growing as a person.
That's what we should do. I feel like we're all meant to evolve, and I really want to encourage everybody to evolve to their highest level that they can.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, RoseMarie. If you missed any of our show, you can catch us again Thursday night, 9:30 p.m. Thank you so much for watching. You can also watch us on social media, Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube. This has been Beyond Focus TV. My name is Victoria. Thank you and good night.
Beyond Focus TV show wants and needs your feedback. Did we blunder? Please let us know so we can improve. Was the show helpful to you? Drop us a note so we can share the success with our staff members. Is there something you think we could do better? We welcome new ideas and new approaches to old ideas. Do you have a great suggestion? Let us know and we'll work on it. If you would like to share your comments anonymously, please send us an email at info@beyondfocusmedia.com. If you want to get in touch with the executive producer directly, send him an email at gene@beyondfocusmedia.com. We really look forward to hearing from you.